Hello, friends, and welcome to a very special astrology podcast today. This is Molly McCord, and thank you for joining me as we're going to take a look at healing spiritual cycles and karma with Chiron in Aries and Saturn in Capricorn. I feel that there's a lot in this show that is going to help us see what's happening at a deeper level. And it's my intention that this show supports you in some area of your life. I hope that at least one message connects for you, brings you understanding, helps you see what's happening in your world, or at least helps you understand your power and your choices. So thank you so much for joining me. This show is live on June 24th, 2019, but I realize you could be listening to this at any time in your day, in your life, in a different year, and I trust that the right messages will connect with you as they need to. This is a podcast that I offer twice a week on Mondays and Wednesdays. I've been doing this show for over 7 years now. I am a professional intuitive astrologer. I am a best-selling author, a consciousness teacher, and a business strategist. And I do a lot of work to support more people to develop and share their spiritual gifts in the world too. So you can find out more about me below this podcast or on one of my websites, mollymccord.online or consciouscoolchic.com. So in today's show, we're going to deal with some really cool images, messages, and astrology. And that's how I work. I just combine together energies, channeled messages, visions, anything that's coming through from my spiritual team that's designed to help you. And typically it's practical, which is what I always appreciate, a way to take this information and apply it practically, or at least know how to understand it in an even better way. So I want to start by talking about the significance of Chiron in Aries and Saturn in Capricorn. They are in different parts of your natal astrology chart right now. Chiron is in Aries, Saturn is in Capricorn, and they're working through different places in your energy field, in your life, in your consciousness, in your awareness. And they are really supporting all of us in clearing out and understanding more of the truth of who we really are. And I also, in my astrology teachings and information, I always merge in the spiritual energies. And I refer to them as God, universe, source, spirit, angels. And I always invite you to just choose whatever works for you and to feel whatever works for you. This energy of Chiron in Aries and Saturn in Capricorn are each connected to our spiritual growth, but they operate in different manners, in different intentions. Now, Chiron is an asteroid known as the wounded healer. And Chiron is about how we first see something and understand that it's a part of us to claim it, to love it, to understand it, to allow the vulnerabilities, to allow the fears, to allow parts of ourselves that can feel ostracized, to allow these parts of ourselves to be accepted. And Chiron represents the part of our consciousness that is looking to be empowered by love, to be deeply accepted, and to understand that the wound, the damage that's been done, the parts of ourselves that feel emotional, that feel the pain, that feel the tears, are simply the parts of us that we have the power to love even more. And as Chiron travels through Aries, Chiron begins a new cycle. And it's the cycle of self-identity. Aries is the first astrological sign. Aries is the desire to exist, I typically think of Aries as the blood, like the basic desire to be in the human form, to have blood pulsing through our veins. It's our first understanding of how you are an individual. It's a sense of self. This is what makes me, me. And the strength of Aries is being a very whole person. And in being strong in your skin, in your acceptance of yourself, and in looking at what parts of your self-identity are being healed. And because it's Chiron, well, the wounds come up, the triggers come up, the vulnerabilities come up first, depending on how you understand and use Chiron in your chart. I noticed that in many astrological charts with a strong Chiron, this is typically someone who is a strong healer, who comes in with the soul mission to heal themselves, to understand the body, healing modalities, to understand the power of energy, the power of what you can really create with your own energy. It's the healer within all of us. Each of us has healing abilities, and when we couple that with our physical selves and our consciousness, we become enlightened healers. And so Chiron in Aries is asking each of us to heal thyself, know thyself, understand thyself, and to love thyself. Even when you feel vulnerable, uncertain, the Aries energy, when Aries is not in its strength, it can feel that it's lacking courage. It can feel uncomfortable being an individual, and it can lose its desire to live. When an Aries energy is in its strength, it has courage, it has motivation and inspiration, it has that desire to be yourself and to stand strong in your own skin. So that's a brief snapshot of the Chiron in Aries. Now, Saturn and Capricorn is a very different energy, but these two energies are connected, and they're connected in the cosmos because of how Chiron orbits just beyond Saturn. They are neighbors. Saturn and Chiron are neighbors, and they have an interesting co-mission to continue to expand our perceived limitations, to expand our consciousness into more healing modalities, healing methods, and I feel that it is a very cosmic connection with Chiron because Chiron is not only right next to Saturn, but it's right next to Uranus as well. So there's an interesting energy here where Chiron is this intermediary asteroid between the real world reality and responsibilities of Saturn and the cosmic, metaphysical, otherworldly gifts of Uranus. And Chiron is the bridge. And I do want to note that Barbara Hand-Clow has written an amazing book on Chiron. It's one of the staples of any astrological library. It's called The Rainbow Bridge, and it's about Chiron healing. And if you have strong Chiron in your chart, or if you want to learn more about this energy, I strongly recommend Barbara Hand-Clow's expertise on Chiron. And I feel like this is something that each of us is embracing in ourselves, embracing in our own knowingness of who we are. Because now I'm getting the image of this Chiron in Aries strongly igniting the spiritual warrior energy and strongly igniting aspects of ourselves that don't have fear, meaning have a fearlessness around being oneself in the world, about understanding your right to exist and your desire to be in human form to participate in the collective consciousness advancement at this time, at this very pivotal time in human history. Chiron in Aries is asking us to look at the courage we claim, but it's an integration. Again, I'm seeing it in the blood. I'm seeing it in the bloodstream of that really deep internal healing. And now I'm seeing the blood go down to the root chakra. And the root chakra is red. The root chakra is fight or flight. And the root chakra is Aries energy. So there is a really deep healing around all your lifetimes of being a warrior, of being independent, of being on your own, of being a leader, of being independent, and perhaps the ways that those lifetimes were cut short. Because now I'm seeing a lot of battlefields. I'm seeing the guillotine. I'm seeing swords, beheading, like all the gruesomeness. Let's just put that all into one category. The gruesomeness and the violence of our planet is part of the Aries energies, when the Aries energies is at a lower consciousness. And now this Chiron in Aries is asking us to raise our consciousness about what it means to go to war, what it means to fight, what it means to go to battle, and what are the true costs of these things, and what are the costs of war. In this day and age, you can look at it through military spending or defense, or the militias, the armies. But I'm feeling this as a very karmic energy. And in fact, this Chiron in Aries energy is actually, this is so fascinating, it's being healed through group sports, organized sports, men and women, okay, both genders, all peoples, because throughout our lifetimes we've been the female and the male, and we've been different parts of the equation. I'm seeing this as a lot of organized sports, events, and teams, and anything where you're going onto the field to play. I mean, that's the spirit of competition, right? The how sports are designed to see who's best and who excels and who wins. I'm seeing how when I look at some of these games, I'm seeing it in a stadium, by the way, it calls to mind, the visions I'm getting are those that were first in Rome, in the Colosseum, but then all of the lifetimes that people have spent as warriors, as soldiers, as being on a different kind of army. And some of these things are being reenacted through sports, where it's that aggression, it's the physical contact, it's the desire to be a part of a team, to be a part of something, to be recognized, to be seen. And it feels like that's one of the ways that actually sports teams, and this is everything from, t-ball, little kids up to the professional realms, the professional arenas, the energies can be cleared when there is consciousness around what is really taking place. Because I'm seeing this as football, and I'm seeing this as anything where there is physical contact, and it's understanding the intention behind it all, because intention is everything when we're talking about energy. Intention is everything. And so when the intention to play sports is to truly enjoy the game and to excel and to really, love the sport and all of that, that's one thing. But I feel like I'm getting this image of many people who grew up in sports. that just always knew they had to play, but there wasn't an understanding that it's because they've been a soldier in so many lifetimes. They've been in armies. They went to battle. They've been a warrior, and they've just always been comfortable in that role. And I feel like this is something where this Chiron in Aries is asking us to heal that warrior heart, but that warrior exhaustion, the warrior body, the warrior spirit, and to complete some things that you can enjoy participating in, but you know they don't define you. A lot of soldiers, they had no choice when they needed to go to battle or join an army. There could have been something about, being very loyal to their country. It could have been something they were commanded to do. There have been drafts, right? There's in some countries you're required to enlist in the military at a certain age, and that's just what everybody does. So there was something about, and I don't just mean in our current world, I mean also in previous timelines and centuries. It was that sense of, well, I had to. And then you enter this lifetime and you're like, well, I have to play football. I have to play soccer. I have to play basketball. I have to do this or do this. And I have to play rugby or cricket or whatever it is. And it's like there's something, again, in the blood is what I'm seeing around actually healing something at a soul level. And so this is meant to be empowering, and this is meant to be something that you move through with the strength and the heart of a warrior. But I'm feeling like this Chiron in Aries, part of what it's showing us is how we're here to understand the power of ourselves and the power of our bodies, the power of our anger. That's also Aries, the power of our desires, the power of our motivation. All these things come together. And, organized sports is just one realm. The other thing that this Chiron in Aries is healing is the masculine energies, again, that we all have. And the masculine energies that were... it's like I'm seeing this full spectrum. Yeah, abused by older men, older masculine energies. The masculine energies that were limited in expression, machismo, okay, like that over egotistical masculine energy that was never balanced or in a healthy place. Again, it comes from intention. Chiron in Aries is showing us more definitions of masculinity and what it means to walk in one's truth and to be connected with one's heart. And there's also a reconciliation. And I'm feeling this energy within this lifetime, a reconciliation of who you used to be. And I'm actually feeling this as men. So I'm going to say a reconciliation with the man you used to be versus the man you are now, the man you know you are now. And so there's this past and present conversation between who you understand yourself to be now versus who you thought you had to be in order to be loved, in order to be acknowledged as strong enough or as a man, those limited definitions. So this Chiron in Aries is working with us to redefine some of these Aries energies that go in the root chakra. And now I'm seeing ego energies and how we all can feel like we've had to have a certain maybe ego that wasn't always healthy, but was a false ego that supported a certain mask, that supported a certain strength, that was a part of our limited self-identities. And so now we're saying, okay, I understand that I'm more than this, and I understand that I am safe, to be more than I thought I would be. And that safe word actually goes back to that root chakra, fight or flight energy, which is when you get afraid, you run, right? And if you're feeling safe and you can just breathe through it and allow it, that's a connection to your internal feminine energies. The breathing through it, the trusting it, the fact that you could be afraid, but you do it anyways. This is consciousness expansion too. So Chiron in Aries is working for each of us to say, you're actually more than you knew yourself to be. Be gentle with yourself. Go easy. Be kind. Allow yourself to get strong. Allow yourself to feel stronger in this part of your self-identity without thinking you have to take it out into the world or do anything about it. Because Aries is about self, and it's, again, your bloodline, your energies within yourself, and understanding that this is for you. This is for you. It's about you. It's not about the sharing and caring with the world. It's about you. And helping you heal parts of your soul experience that couldn't heal in other lifetimes. That's one of the gifts of this time, is that we're doing this really deep work because we couldn't do it in other experiences. There wasn't the energy on the planet to support it. There wasn't the level of consciousness. So you're reworking with something here that you've probably carried for lifetimes around these Aries themes. And of course, it's individual for each of us. But that's what the Chiron in Aries is showing you. It's where these cycles are healing. And now I'm getting the image of a wound. I'm seeing it on the leg. Oh, well, of course, because Chiron was limited by the wound to his Achilles heel. But I'm actually seeing this more as like a leg wound that is a scar. And it's very common that our bodies have scars and wounds that we received from other lifetimes. And you could have, I'm seeing this as a battle wound to the leg, and I'm seeing it as a thigh. And it's sort of like the sword went in to the thigh, and maybe you bled out on the battlefield, or you were rushed to find a doctor to not bleed out and to save your life. But it's kind of like that same wound can show up in this lifetime. And it can be an injury you had as a child. It can be something that happened to you when you were younger, or it could be something last week. And you're like, what's this about? Like, there's more information here. There's more messages here. And if you're feeling that, I would look into that, because Aries is the body. Chiron is the body. And our bodies hold these cellular memories that our conscious mind doesn't understand. So there could be something for you physically that is a reminder of a previous lifetime's experience. And it could have more information for you to look into or to pursue. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to this Saturn and Capricorn, which is very significant because of how at this time Saturn in Capricorn is retrograde, traveling with the South Node in Capricorn. And this is a very rare cycle. We have very rare energies at this time, which is why it's a very significant time, because we are truly closing out very deep karmic cycles that we've been circling in for lifetimes. It is that big, and it's that big with the Saturn, Pluto, and South Node all together in Capricorn. And so the Saturn energy is about our responsibilities, where we need to show up in the world, what we need to do to take care of business, literally and figuratively, where we need to grow, mature, put in the work, put in the time, put in the effort. And we're looking at the roles we've played throughout this lifetime and other lifetimes, those roles of responsibility, those roles of even superiority. Because the lower energies of Capricorn involve the bully, are the energies of someone who doesn't play well with others, let's just say, who doesn't want to have anything to do with anybody else. They are the dictator. They are the autocrat. They are the one who rules all, and it's just that everything goes out, nothing comes in. And there's the authoritarianism of Capricorn. And as this energy cycles through each of us individually as well as the collective, we're looking at ways that we've needed to feel superior, to be recognized. We're looking at what we thought we had to do to be important and to be acknowledged. We're looking at how we've been jerks and where we've been out of alignment with our hearts. We're looking at what bigger cycles are ending that can feel absolutely out of your control. And that's a very significant energy of right now, is that things are ending and changing and closing out, and, you know, you couldn't stop it if you tried. Good luck trying. It's bigger than you. And this is because of what the earth needs right now. The collective energy field needs to be done with the karmic, the connections, the stories, the energies, the unhealthy energies, the unhealthy connections that served you for a time. They served you for a purpose. You were meant to learn, and it's the Saturn and Capricorn where we learn through the real-world experiences. But as it goes over the South Node, there is letting go. There is loss. There can be very big loss for people right now with their worlds falling apart. That could be the feeling. With their perception that all is lost, or that everything I built up, or everything I put into this. And in Capricorn, it's through the years, it's through the decades. This is a time of huge changes in people's careers and in their professions, because you're seeing that it's not really who you are. And then the fear comes in because it's like, well, who am I? I don't know who I am. And then some people try to take, an easy way out, or they go into some kind of escapism. You could look at the Neptune and Pisces for that, which is the opioid crisis, or the places we go to consume alcohol or to do drugs or do something that takes us out of this reality, all Neptune and Pisces. But I will say that even though there has been the rise in the opioid crisis since Neptune went into Pisces, there has also been the rise in CBD and understanding the benefits of CBD oil and the healing energies. And even mushrooms are gaining in what their medicinal purpose is and in their healing abilities. So these are also the Neptune and Pisces, which is that, there are other ways to heal when you are doing so responsibly and with moderation and with the intention to get better. So we have these energies here that are asking us to choose a higher path. And that's where you're going to be released from this 3D construct that's falling away. And it's falling away, and it's not clear, by the way. There's a lot that's not said, that's not revealed, that isn't out there, that's not known to the public, that's not truth, that's not fact. It's not revealed yet. And so we will see later in 2020 what has changed and what's been going on behind the scenes. But right now, we're kind of all dealing with our own energies, perhaps, or our own Saturn and Capricorn. It's like I'm getting the image of that. It's like a little Lego town. You build up a town with Legos, and then here comes Godzilla, and Godzilla's like stomping on your town, and you're like, oh my gosh, you know how much time I put into building that Lego town? It's kind of that energy of, oh, it's just gone, or something's ended, and it's because you're ready for it to be gone. And I feel like it's easy to stay in a cycle, to stay in that place of, if I just do this, if I just do that, it's going to shift, it's going to change. And it's like, no, this is ending for a reason, because there's a bigger you emerging. There's a bigger you coming forth. There's a bigger dream. There's a bigger sense of self. There's a bigger place of self-recognition. There's a bigger understanding of who you are. And like maybe that Godzilla is your best friend right now. And maybe you just want to say, do your best, Godzilla. Yeah, tear apart everything, because I know that I'm going to build bigger, better, and with more meaning than ever before. So this is part of the Saturn in Capricorn, is that things are ending. It's not just you. And it's something that if we can work with it and be smart about it and strategize, it will help you feel like you're in control of some of it. And that is true in our minds, you know, the power of our minds, the power of perception, the understanding that when you go to your spiritual connections, God, Source, Spirit, the universe, whatever it is for you, there's always a beautiful reason for change. If you choose that perception, if that's what you want to believe. And so can you subscribe to that philosophy? And Jupiter in Sagittarius right now is asking us to stay open to what we're learning because of the desire of Sagittarius to know more, to learn more, teach me more, show me more, and you understand what you didn't know before. So it's very expansive, and we're learning to see things in a higher way, even when it's tough, even when it's brutal, or when the real world just feels like out of your control. This is also an elevation of your own consciousness, because your energy field expands to see that you're in charge of your mind, of your perceptions, of what you're choosing, of the bigger picture. Astrology helps with understanding these cycles. I know I've mentioned before and shared with you how when I've seen hard transits coming in my chart, I just know, okay, like this is what's coming down the line, and it's only hard when I resist it, or it's hard when it's out of my control. But I as a soul, why did I as a soul choose this energy experience? What was I thinking? But what was I desiring to gain? And what was I ready to learn? And what was I ready to heal that I couldn't heal it in other lifetimes? And I couldn't take care of it before. But now I have access to more of my power. I have more choices. I have more resources. I have more abilities. I have more blah, blah, blah. Right? Like, look at where you can go into this empowering perspective at a soul level. Stay open to the questions. Ask the questions and see what you hear. See what comes through, that you feel, that you hear, that you read. See what comes through. It's a very significant time in human history, and I've said before that, you know, in decades from now, you'll be able to say, I was there. I was there during this huge transformation, this huge changeover these huge endings, these huge things that humanity hasn't seen before. And the story's still being written. It'll come to public awareness in time. But at this time, you still have your choices about where you direct your thoughts, how you choose your energy, and the perspectives you subscribe to. Saturn is about timing. So as Saturn rolls on through Capricorn and travels with the South Node and then meets up with Pluto and then meets up with Jupiter in Capricorn in 2020, it's time. It's time. There's a 30-year cycle. That's how long Saturn takes to do a full cycle through the zodiac, 30 years. But it's rare to meet up with Pluto. It's rare to travel with the South Node as well. So there's some rare cycles happening here, and that's why it's time. So we can trust that it's in divine timing, and I believe that we can also trust that there will be the next opportunities, the next solutions, the next path forward in due time as well. The Capricorn energy will focus in and says, your work is here right now. Take care of this. Take care of this, 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 and this. And then you'll move on to the next thing. But you've got to take care of business. You've got to pay the bills, or you've got to take care of these responsibilities. Tend to what's in front of you. And know that in due time, the next steps will be clear. It's a slow-moving energy. We don't get a rush. We don't get to do shortcuts. In fact, when you try to do that, it can get even worse. It can prolong something even more. And the South Node in Capricorn is also the karma and the unresolved karma that is being resolved now. And that's why it can feel brutal or a huge loss. That's why it can feel like everything's going down the drain, or that you thought who you were or what your life was about was one thing, and then, Godzilla stomping on through your life, and Godzilla's like just whacking it all down. And it's because the karmic energies of what these things were built on are done. And it's ending in a very big way for many people, but I feel like it's also collective because of the Pluto and Capricorn energy here. And so in some ways, this is a huge graduation. And it's also a huge spiritual celebration. That what was haunting you or even trailing you for lifetimes is finally over. And again, it goes back to how your consciousness has shifted. You're willing to grow. You're willing to learn. The energy on the planet now supports all this. It supports this release. It supports letting go. You have other options. And going to the career energy, which is Capricorn, and the professional changes, you're not stuck in a village somewhere having to do one thing for the rest of your life. That was very much what was common. That you had to do what the family did, or you had to do what your village needed you to do, or you had to do what the government said, or what have you. You don't have to do that anymore in terms of the opportunities and choices that are available. And I realize I'm speaking to those in a developed country with free will, and there are populations and places on the globe that don't have that. But we are at a place right now where humanity is moving forward, and we have more choices than ever before. So you're being asked by God, Source, Spirit, the universe, to say, what do you want, and what do you love, and what has meaning to you, and what's in your heart? And that's all the North Node in Cancer energies. It's reawakening your trust in yourself and your ability to go where you need to go. the Saturn in Capricorn energy, I'm feeling it as a taking care of business, and you can't rush through it, but hey, it's not going to last forever, okay? And it will be rocky at times, and just not sugarcoating it. But there's also new starts ahead, and there's other opportunities ahead. Go there. Do your research now. Plan for that now. Look at what is next for you. Start writing that next chapter in your head, if nothing else. Start being open to clarity around what that next chapter is if you don't know. What I mean is basically talk with your future self. And how is that life for you? What does that life look like? Saturn and Capricorn conjunct the South Node and conjunct Pluto is such a huge transformation. You've waited lifetimes for this. You've done a lot in other lifetimes to perhaps break free. Like I'm kind of seeing this maze. Oh, didn't I talk about this in a previous show? I talked about Pac-Man. But now I'm seeing it as a maze where, you know, it's following the trail and it leads to a dead end, or it's not what you thought it was. And then now you're being set free. And I feel like we have to do the work in our physical world. We have to show up in certain ways and take care of things, but there is a freedom coming. And before I did this podcast, I was getting these images of Gandalf, and specifically at the end of The Lord of the Rings, the first movie. Now, full disclosure, I did not read the books. I just saw the movies. And I remember at the end of that first movie, when Gandalf fights is it the Balrog? I hope I'm saying that correctly. And falls down into the chasm. And the Balrog is that monster that was the dragon fire kind of monster. And Gandalf fought the Balrog all the way down. And it was like through fire and through water. And the Balrog wouldn't let go and wouldn't leave and would change forms. And Gandalf kept fighting. I remember at the end of that movie, I was so devastated. Gandalf the Grey died. And it was horrible, especially to me. I didn't read the books. I didn't know what happened. Thankfully, my mom read the books, and I remember talking with her afterwards, and this was before the second movie came out, and I was like, is Gandalf really gone? And she's like, no, he's not. Well, then, fast forward to the second movie. Gandalf tells the story of how he kept fighting. And it was through the fighting of this enemy that he was led to the exit, which was the secret stairway that the Balrog knew about, but Gandalf didn't know about. So, that enemy showed him his exit. I have, deep messages in here for you to think about. The fighting and not giving up on himself and not backing down and not, sitting it out, the enemy led him to the exit, which was a stairway up to a mountaintop. And Gandalf won. And it was through this fight, it was through this demolition of who he was that he became Gandalf the White. And talks about how it was through fighting, from the lowest dungeons to the highest peaks, that he became more powerful because of that resurrection, because of that reclaiming of his power, of his gifts, of who he is, and that rising up into this whole new level of himself. And so I'm feeling like this is what's happening is that, yes, a part of your life or a part of yourself or a part of what you wanted or thought you wanted is dying or dead, but you're going to be in that new place, even higher place, because of this demolition or because of this destruction, because of Godzilla, because of the Balrog, take your pick. But if that can help with perseverance, the desire to stay true to who you are and your power, and to know that this is an energy cycle bigger than all of us, bigger than any of us, it can help depersonalize it too. It can help depersonalize it. And now, it's so interesting. I'm getting the message how the reason why the Balrog fought Gandalf was because of his power, because of his wisdom, because of who he was, right? That he was the one to go for because of everything that he was and represented, and that his strength was what was sought after. I'm sure some of you are Lord of the Ring aficionados, and I am not, but I love the movies. So I hope that this helps understand that we are moving through very big healing energies, and there are timelines beyond this current reality that are ending, and there are energies that have been unconscious within you that are ending. And that's the celebration, and that's the graduation, because now you're rising up to this higher peak of understanding and knowingness of your power, of your choices, of who you are, of what you want, and that's what you're going to take forward and become more of in 2020 and beyond, into the next decade. So I hope this has provided some ways to understand Chiron and Saturn, and how you as a soul knew you could handle this, knew you were ready. You were like, sign me up to do some big karmic clearing, please. I'm ready to be done with some things. I'm ready to step into more of what I want and of who I am. And there will be rewards on the other side. Because that's the other thing, is that when we really are in alignment with the truth of who we are, things just happen in a very easy manner, or at least easier than you anticipate. Because after going through a lot, you can see how you've shifted and changed. No more compromising. So that's what both the Aries and Capricorn energies have in common. There's no compromising, and it's not about other people. It's about you. It's about your self-leadership. Self-leadership, choosing yourself, and knowing that that is ultimately what will serve others. I think that's in terms of service, in terms of thinking about if you're being selfish or not. You only have control over your own energy, and do a little review on yourself at what served you and what has not served you. And when you are in alignment with who you really are, it will then connect you with more people of similar energy, of similar alignment. And it will also connect you with even more happiness, joy, satisfaction, peace, all these good things. So please know, my friends, that there's good things that come from these huge healing cycles. And a whole new story can begin as well. Okay, well, I think I'm going to close it out for today's show. And I hope you see Gandalf in your travels. I know he's such a great, archetype and perhaps you'll see more of those around. But thank you for joining me, and I'll be back next Wednesday for our weekly Intuitive Astrology and Energies podcast. Do keep in mind that I have a whole library of podcast episodes for you at blogtalkradio.com/Molly McCord. And there's I think there's like 450 episodes or something. So if you wanted to hear any more spiritual teachings or understandings, you can find them all there. Thanks for joining me, friends, and I will see you back here for our next show very soon. Take good care. Bye-bye.